Hey, how you doing? Carl here, Barstool Chicago. Tony and Frankie got the week off. I'm sitting next to White Sox Dave. It's MLB hot stove season, and there is literally no better time right now for a Miller Lite.
No better time for a Miller Lite. It's dog shit weather outside, so nothing better than to turn on MLB Net, grab yourself a Miller Lite, and painstakingly watch that station looking for the Cubs and White Sox to pull off a blockbuster for the rest of the winter.
I can see you responsibly like bulldozing a six-pack in angst as you just refresh Twitter.
Yes.
Go through who are the White Sox signing? Get me another Miller Lite. Why are we not getting Yan Gomes? Get me a Miller Lite.
So tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of my companionship with my dog. I have trained him to go to the fridge for me, open the fridge with the little rope hanging on the handle, grab me a Miller Lite, and bring it to me so I can, refresh baseball news all day long while enjoying Miller Lite.
Miller Lite's the best beer in the world, in the history of beer, and nobody will tell me otherwise. This is the season, too, not just hot stove stuff, holiday season. You're going to your in-laws. Maybe it's a new girlfriend, and she wants you to come over and meet the parents, and you're like, fine, I'll meet your parents for the first time. I don't know what to bring. Obviously, you have plenty of options. Personally, I like a 12-pack, holiday-themed, 16-ounce. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The 16 ounces. I don't know. 16-ounce beers. They're the best. But the best part about Miller Lite for me,
grenades.
No,
yeah. The grenades are the
grenades
little
are the little ones. You're talking about the 16.
The bombers?
Ounces.
Is that what people call them?
Maybe. I like that. We can start calling them it bombers now. But Miller Lite. That's what's gonna get me through the winter while the White Sox do nothing. And it's great because as I consume Miller Lite, I don't get full. And that's my number one issue while drinking beer is that it just fills me up and I feel fat and bloated and gross. Doesn't happen with Miller Lite. It's great tasting, less filling, 96 calories. And it's my only beer of choice unless, I'm being held hostage by Al-Qaeda or something.
Jesus.
And have to consume like a Pilsner that's, some fancy, smancy $12 beer bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that. Miller Lite's the way to go.
Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Give the gift of Miller time this holiday season by going to MillerLite.com/Redline to find delivery options near you. This is a great fucking gift. Or just pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. 'Tis Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
That's basically a protein shake right there. I'm just joking. It's still alcohol. You need to consume it responsibly. But Miller Lite's the way to go. Don't be that guy that walks into a holiday party this winter without a case of Miller Lite.
Get yourself some respect. Get yourself some Miller Lite.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Chicago sports fans. This is White Sox Dave.
And Barstool Carl.
And this is Redline Radio, an all gas, no break Chicago sports podcast brought to you by the aforementioned Miller Lite and the now mentioned Barstool Chicago. It is a throwback episode. Carl and I, and that's it. No Chief or Eddie to drag us down. We're talking hot stove. We're talking Cubs. We're talking White Sox. We're talking MLB. All of the above. And off the top, I got nothing.
That was awesome.
I got nothing.
I wish, honestly, I have maybe chills is too far, but I love that you just did that. In the history of the show, I don't think, have you done that?
There's been a small handful of times where you've been out in like New York City and we're on an episode, maybe 2 or 3 tops, but no, it's been a minute. It felt good. It felt natural.
You hit it. Dave.
We're back in our, in the bowels of Redline Radio right now.
Yeah. So Eddie and Chief are doing. They did the telethon. They're in New York.
They're on their way back.
Yeah, they're on their way back or something. All the stuff going on with MLB, Hot Stove. Dave and I were going to why don't we just jump into this and get deep on it. We'll do Bears, Bulls, Hawks, all that other stuff, life, all that bullshit Thursday. This is fucking baseball. Dave brings it up, the bowels of Redline Radio. There's a handful of people who've been with us since day one and like, hey, guys, this is what day one. Well, day one sounded a lot worse, but this is what
5 years. It'll be 5 years come January 15th or so.
What are other things you've done for 5 years straight?
I don't think I've ever had a full-time job for 5 years straight. Honestly, nothing.
Chew tobacco.
Yeah, that's been like, I'm 33. That's been like 16, 17 years, so half my life at this point. On that note, I did start to add up how much money I've spent on dip over the course of the last 16, 17 years, and you start like doing all the multiplication tables and carrying the ones and stuff.
Give me a drum roll. Give me a drum roll.
Can I get a drum roll?
Can we put them? This is old school Redline radio. No. Put a marker in the pod, and then we're gonna go back and add a drum roll in the final audio.
Yeah, Lance.
And we want the drum roll to start right now. Thank you, Lance.
This is the kind of shit we used to do when we were, fucking hustling around back in our old full-time job days when I was slinging freight, Carl was slinging insurance, but I started doing all the math on how much nicotine or dip I've consumed over the last 16, 17 years. And once you start getting into the tens of thousands of dollars, you just stop. You stop doing the rest of the math because you're like, I've spent so much money on this shit.
Can I make you slightly more upset, possibly?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you know it's again? I looked into this on your behalf. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw your picture from when you were hunting, and I was like, I wonder, maybe we could do this would be funny. And I did some research. I wanted to reach out to Grizzly and be like, hey, I got your guy. Like,
you're not allowed to.
It's a federal law.
Yeah, you can't.
Or it's against federal law to, like, Grizzly can't sponsor you.
No, they can't.
It's trash. Because if they could, you'd be.
Oh, I would fucking sell out in a heartbeat to Grizzly Wintergreen, or just Grizzly in general. But
just one flavor only, guys.
That's my flavor of choice. I mean, I'm not prejudiced against straight or men or any other fucking. But I remember because you used to see the billboards and shit all over of like the Camel. Was that Joe Cool?
Yeah, he is cool.
He was cool, but you're not allowed to market to nicotine anymore.
Yeah, I can't say this word. And it's been in my, I don't even know how to say it, Marlboro. Yeah, like
Marlboro. No Marlboro, man, no nothing anymore. It's against the law. You can't do it. But if that law does change, I don't know, with, presidencies or anything, if anybody from Grizzly or the American tobacco industry in general is looking for a spokesman, I am your guy.
Can I tee you up a little pivot here?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to like this. Mm-hmm. From White Sox Dave spending too much money to the White Sox not spending enough.
I just don't get it. And I'll preface this by saying the easy targets are still all out there. Conforto, he has not been signed. I mean, they got until midnight.
Say easy target tier 2 guys.
I mean, the guys that make the most sense. Like Corey Seager was never going to happen. He didn't make sense. Of course. Same with Correa.
Do you think Seager and Correa live in a tier above? So, like, Seager, Correa, whatever he signs for, Scherzer, obviously, $43 million. Mm-hmm. So that's in, like, one tier. These guys in, like, 30-something plus. And then Javi Baez just signed for $23 million. And then, like, Avisail Garcia, I think, signed for $13 million.
Something like it was like 4 years, 54, which is stupid fucking money by the
really big gaps now.
Yeah.
So you're saying like your White Sox guys, like you weren't looking at $30 million.
Unless it was for a pitcher, no. But I mean, Scherzer's the only one that's going to happen for. Kendall Gossman, he got I think it was $21 million a year, or $22 million a year would have been because it was 5 years for $110 total, so that's $22 million. That's something I would have been all over for the White Sox. I don't understand why they weren't. Same
Robbie
with
Ray.
Robbie, I'm much more bearish on Robbie Ray.
Come on.
Because
Really?
he was a 1 year and done guy. Like he was pretty fucking whatever until this past year. Obviously, mechanical adjustments, command improvement, and all of that stuff that has a lot to do with why he just won the Cy Young, and that could be the pitcher he is moving forward. But I'm not as Kendall Gossman is just flat out fucking filthy. Flat out filthy. He's awesome in every single way. And there's not a ton of mileage on his arm.
I'm sorry because someone's going to do it to you. Kevin.
I have the yips when I have
totally
the yips.
Fine. I've been calling him Bezos his whole life, or whatever it is, the opposite.
I don't know if it's
Bezos?
or Bezos.
Which one is it, Lance?
Jeff?
Yeah.
I mean, what is your buddy?
Yeah, it would be Jeff Bezos.
Bezos.
Yeah.
So don't worry, I fucked up.
I have called him Kendall Gossman forever. And it's just one of those things it's in my head, and I'll always call him Kendall Gossman. I know it's Kevin. I get it wrong every time. Kevin Gossman's fucking filthy, though. I would have loved it at 5 years, 125 or 110 for that, $22 million total per year. I would have been all over that if I was
He's
the
a
White
pro,
Sox.
too. He'll be good over that contract.
Oh, yeah. He reminds me, he's kind of taking the Charlie Morton career path a little bit. You know, all of a sudden he's just awesome after 30 and goes and has an awesome 5-year stretch and then kind of hangs him up after that. Maybe wins a World Series.
Funny thing
I don't
about
get it.
Kevin Gausman, because how he got here is, I think you'll enjoy this. When they drafted him, did you know that he would have to eat a bag of powdered donuts during a start? And they'd be like, "What are you doing?" And he would go in between innings and just like huff like half a dozen
never heard
powdered
this.
mini, like the
Yeah.
mini donuts.
Those are delicious.
And the Orioles are like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Because he was a big name out of LSU, I think top 5 pick or whatever. And the Orioles can never develop pitching. If you look at who the Orioles have drafted historically, it is a laugh factory of failed college pitchers that come in. They're like, Brian Mattis, can't miss. You go down the line. Dylan Bundy, can't miss.
Yep.
Bad miss. All the way down the line. Point of this I'm saying is, I'm losing my train of thought here. Baltimore Orioles, Kevin Gausman, he's matured. They had a big problem with getting him like, dude, relax, calm down, stop eating donuts. This is the big leagues. You're going to start in another 5 days. Just calm the fuck down. You got to go out and do your job. So going back to the 522, like if I'm the White Sox, yeah, I'm circling Kevin Gausman as a guy who's matured, and I would love to have him on the team.
I would have loved it, and he signed for one of the main teams that are going to be in the White Sox way for a World Series in the coming years, the Toronto Blue Jays. It seems like every contender is going all in right now other than the White Sox, and it just makes no sense to me. But like I said at the start of this little soliloquy, is the main target, I think, is probably Michael Conforto. Michael Conforto, flawed for sure, but he makes sense in every single fucking way for the White Sox. He's not going to be some $300 million, $200 million. I don't even think he'll even be a $100 million guy considering the year he came off with the Mets last year. He had like an OPS plus of like 100. He was like pretty average last year. But he pounds right-handed pitching. He plays right field. He's a pretty good outfielder. And he's still out there for the taking. So the Sox, they sign him, which I think is pretty much like just to save face. They almost have to at this point. Otherwise, they will get dragged across the coals, and rightfully so, come the end of the offseason. And then you go re-sign Tepera, who's just a perfectly adequate middle reliever, and then go get a backup catcher and second baseman. And all the reports are that the White Sox are going to probably be trading with the Phillies for Gene Segura. It would fit perfectly again. Not perfectly, but it'd be an improvement. And then see you at the deadline. But at this point, like, White Sox fans are restless, and I understand it. I'm getting restless, and like watching some of these guys go, it's disheartening. It's like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, they have this awesome core that's just a piece or two away from being like maybe the best team in the American League, maybe the best team in baseball, and they're not doing anything. And it's pissing me off. It's pissing off a lot of White Sox fans. That said, it's November still. I mean, it's the last day of November right now, and I'm not going to judge it fully until March 1st when pitchers and catchers are reporting, assuming there will be, a normal report date.
Well, change of pace for you.
Now, you learn not to fly off the handle. Even though I wanted to yesterday, watching all these studs sign, you learn not to fly off the handle.
Any of them get to you more than the other?
Simeon pissed me off and Gausman pissed me off. I mean, unless
Can we just address it? Simeon was drafted by the White Sox
twice.
So
he was drafted by the White Sox twice.
He was traded for
Shark, Jeff Samardzija.
Who actually Samardzija led Major League Baseball. I shouldn't say led. He had the worst ERA in Major League Baseball the year that you guys traded for him. If you go back and look
he
at
gave up like 35 bombs.
Well, go back and look at his game logs. It is one of the most preposterous seasons in Major League history, and I'm not fucking joking. Jeff Samardzija will have these games, 8 innings, 1 hit, 10 strikeouts, no walks. He'll rack up 3 games in a row, and then he'll have 1 game, 4 innings, 11 hits, 9 runs, 6 walks. It's so funny when you look back on Samardzija's time in Chicago, because he was actually in spurts just as dominant as he was with the Cubs that year, and they traded him for fucking everybody. Mm-hmm. But he had 14
he had
starts
one
that were just
awesome start against Boston. It was in middle to late May of that year. at Fenway, and he just absolutely mowed the Red Sox down. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, this is the Jeff Samardzija we're going to see. They're going to extend him. It's going to be him, Chris Sale, Jose Quintana. It's going to be a three-headed monster. Didn't happen. And like people talk about the Fernando Tatis Jr. trade for James Shields that I broke, not to brag, being like the worst trade ever. The White Sox traded Marcus Semien and Chris Bassett for 1 year of Jeff Samardzija. Now, nobody really predicted Chris Bassett to do what he's doing, right, or has done the last 3 years. He's been just fucking awesome for Oakland. But that's tough. Like, I think that trade's worse in retrospect because Semien was already a big leaguer. Bassett was already a big leaguer. Tatis was a scrawny little 16, 17-year-old that nobody thought was going to be what he is. So I think this is the worst trade by far, but I know you don't typically
Semien
want
on steroids, Dave.
I don't think so. I mean, if he is, he is. If he's not, he's not. I don't care.
It's just he never even like remotely profiled to be like a middle of the order.
No, he's gotten better and better every year. He had a 7.5 win season. He's been top 3 in the MVP 2 of the last 3 years. He's been fucking awesome. And I know typically it's not a wise allocation of resources to put. I know 7 years is a fuck ton for a 31-year-old and $175 million, but like it's not typically smart to put that into second base. But at the same time, like to play devil's advocate a little bit, because I don't know if I would have touched that contract if I'm Rick Hahn or Kenny Williams or Jerry Reinsdorf, but I'm worried about 2022. I'm not worried about 2028. Jerry Reinsdorf especially shouldn't, considering he's almost 86 years old. What the fuck does he care about money in 2028? He's not going to be here. I mean, that's the way the world works. You fucking die when you get old. And that's just the God's honest truth. It's the God's honest truth. Like, what the fuck does he give a shit for?
Right.
And even at the same time, like, I would assume you're going to get awesome production out of him for the next 3 years. By then, all this money is going to be off the books anyways. You're going to lose Keuchel. You're going to lose Abreu. You're going to lose all these fucking guys that aren't signed long-term. So you have one $25 million deal on the books. Who gives a shit? Like, so I see both sides. I don't think I would have touched you 7 years, but it's like you got to fucking spend your money somewhere.
Who are the big names last offseason? Or
who were the big names last offseason? There was nobody out there that I was in love with. 2 years ago, I remember.
Because wasn't last offseason influenced by teams not having money from the pandemic?
Oh,
and this
that
was
was
like
the
where
excuse
the open
they
the books
used, yeah.
came in. Like, show the money then. Like, why aren't you
Right,
spending
yeah.
money?
They didn't want to show, because they were trying to cut all the players' finances, like all their salaries, like, but the players were like, no, we're going to prorate it at 100% rate. So if we're playing 60 games, I get 60 games worth of my contract. Like, you're not giving me 40% of that. Fuck that. Which I agree with. If you're not gonna, if you say you're losing all this money, you got to prove you're losing all this money. Otherwise, we're all working for the same cut no matter what. But it sucks, man. Like, you see Max Scherzer signing for 40. What I've done was at 4 years,
3
years,
$43 million a year.
So about $130 million total. Would that be? Not for me, but. What the fuck do these guys care? Like, you got
$1.4 million to start if he makes every start.
Fucking close.
Right.
And these guys are sitting there for the taking. Like, Javi Baez, like, I said it on Twitter the other day. Like, he's not a guy you build around like the Tigers are trying to do with him. He'd be fine in this White Sox lineup, hitting 7th, playing great defense at 2nd. He's a great clubhouse guy. He brings energy, which, that isn't measured by statistics, but it does play a role in wins and losses. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me, even though it all kind of does make sense to me. I don't know. It's disheartening, but like I said, I'm just going to wait until March when the offseason is completely over to make my judgment call. So,
yeah,
that's how
I was historically nonchalant about White Sox off seasons. That's why I was asking you about last off season. Like, who are the players? I remember those names. Because then, obviously, who fucking forgets the first wave was Manny Machado. What was the next wave?
I remember getting really pissed that they didn't even make an attempt at Rendon.
This is our 4th offseason doing hot stove stuff. White Sox first offseason was Machado,
Harper.
and Harper. Third offseason basically didn't exist because of the pandemic.
Yep.
Now, Harper and Machado is kind of like, well, the White Sox aren't there yet to go commit the money. And that was kind of a place I was very comfortable arguing with you, being like, well, whatever. I mean, if Machado's as good as you guys say he is, then he will be. And if Abreu's healthy and can keep playing at this level, then great. And the pitching staff, and you just traded. I was not willing to have like White Sox fans influence me into like, well, they got to go spend money. It was like, I don't give a fuck. You guys don't have it. And they kind of followed the same offseason. I remember arguing with you again more. And you'd be like, well, you don't fucking get it. I'd be like, I just don't think you guys should be spending the money. Now, I'm telling you this because now I'm following the news. I think it's fucking crazy the White Sox haven't. It's just crazy that they didn't go above and beyond for Marcus Semien, or that they didn't get Gossman, or that they haven't been Javi Baez for $23 million. It's a great point. Him at second base would instantly put you guys the number 1 team in the American League.
I think so.
So
he's got his flaws.
I'm saying all this selfishly to tell you that I'm ready to be mad. If you came in here and you're like, fucking White Sox, fuck Rick Hahn. We wouldn't say that. He's a friend of the program. We like Rick Hahn. I'm speaking more about like, Jerry cutting checks and stuff. Like if you were just pissed, I'd be right there with you right now because I completely.
But like I said,
I'm like seeing the light for White Sox fans. I'm like, ooh, you guys now, because it's fucking crazy. You guys lost the Astros. You have another piece there. Who knows? What you have to do. You know the team you have to be a force in October. Not to say you guys had a good enough squad. You could have gotten lucky.
That's
you
what
could have made
pisses
some
me
plays,
off
but
the
not
most.
Like forceful.
Is you went to that you see that Astros series in hindsight, and they just beat the shit out of the White Sox, top to bottom. I was trying to add up the run differential in my head yesterday in that series, and it was like fucking 30 in 4 games. It was brutal. They got their asses kicked. So you'd think that Jerry Reinsdorf's an outstanding businessman. He's a billionaire, blah, blah, blah. Those guys are inherently, and they're perpetually competitive. Are they not? Like businessmen of that ilk.
Yeah.
Have to be just
now, I think Jerry's, I don't know
A.
if Tom is. I think there's different categories of these wealthy guys. Jerry's a self-made man who fucking used his whip smarts to become a lawyer, like into owning 2 of massive franchise. I mean, he owns the fucking Bulls too. Let's not forget this. Like,
let's not forget that.
He did that himself. I think Tom, and now we can talk about the Cubs and Tom Ricketts later, but I do think Tom, to a certain extent, is playing a part for the family.
I mean,
but to your point, I mean, they're both rich, cunning guys. I think Jerry's a fox, though. I think Jerry's a fucking killer.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you'd think that they would watch that Astro series and be like, okay, our starting pitching wasn't there. Obviously, that was kind of an aberration. Like, those are 3 really good starting pitchers, 4 if you include Cease. Like, those are really good starting pitchers. But then you see, okay, we need just a fucking dog to start game 1 of a playoff. We got Max Scherzer. Kevin Gossman. I was about to say Kendall again. It's Kevin Gossman. There's 2 guys right there that instantly you can say these are game 1 stars. Not that I don't love Gio or Lynn or even Cease. I think Cease is going to continue to make jumps, but it's like, how can you see that and just let these guys fucking go? Let these guys go. And then you have a gaping hole in right field and a gaping hole at second base, and you watch these guys sign elsewhere and these other teams improving because they're spending money. Like Rick Hahn, he said it himself. Like, the money will be spent, and the next offseason it was spent. They hopped on the market with Yasmani Grandal, and he's been fantastic. Mm-hmm. Great signing. They needed a catcher. Then Dallas Keuchel, you added it up, and it was like they spent like $35 million that offseason, which would have been about what Manny Machado or Bryce Harper were making in 1 year. So it's like, okay, you can rationalize and say, all right, it was spent. It was just spread out between a couple players instead of one. They're going to have about $180 million payroll without any more moves being made this year. So it's like you have this window of like $30 million before you even approach a luxury tax. You're a big market. And that's the other thing. Like, baseball has rules where big market teams, they can't spend internationally as much as the small market teams like Milwaukee or Cincinnati or San Diego. Like, it's baked into the rules, and they don't even go out. Like, if the White Sox want to operate like the Rays, the rules of baseball don't allow that, really, because they're classified as a large market team. So it's
this is an important distinction, folks. Dave is pointing out a very important distinction because this is something that's routinely been brought up on the show, is like he calls the White Sox a big market team. And maybe recently over the years where things come in and it's like, how can you say that they're in a big market, but the Cubs are the big market team? It's dictated by geography.
It's dictated by geography, yes. It's straight geography. And even if you cut, all right, what would you say? I'll use your number. The breakdown between Cubs and Sox fans is in Chicagoland.
I mean,
in this
real
market,
baseball fans, it's probably closer. I mean, people, if you ask people, it's probably,
I would say
70-30.
I would say 65-35, but right around there. 35% of Chicago is way bigger than Milwaukee. It's way bigger than Cincinnati. Like, even if you do take the Cubs fans out of the market, it's still a much bigger market than these other organizations.
And they really haven't, the White Sox really haven't been that good since, they haven't been, could you imagine the 05 team, like, in the social media environment, in the internet content, YouTube, where you can, like, my point is, I think the White Sox are poised to explode. I think they are poised to explode locally and nationally as they continue to get good because it's a cool brand. It's a cool thing to identify with. I think it'll continue to grow in Chicago where it's like, oh, yeah, the Cubs are going to be rebuilding for a couple of years while the White Sox are going to be fucking awesome without, like, over the next couple of years, kids that are coming of age and making decisions and stuff like, yeah, you're going to – there's going to be a huge shift towards,
there's going to be
that
middle ground where there are people – and that just proves the point even more. Like, and they hop the fuck out of season ticket prices. I know because I'm a season ticket holder. So – like, I'm paying double next year what I paid last year, which is fine. Like, I'm all for it because I'm thinking that it's going to go to free agency and spending money on players to make the product better. But so far it hasn't. And I keep going back to this. So if the White Sox end the offseason with Conforto, Graveman, Tepera, backup catcher, and they trade for a second baseman, we're happy. See at the deadline, you can see, because the White Sox, the Tigers are still, I would say, a year away from being legit contenders. They're going to be a pain in the ass in 2022, even with Javi and with their other signings this winter. They're going to be a pain in the ass, but they're still not deep enough to overtake the White Sox unless injuries gut the White Sox again. But so that's fine. Like, if you want to sign those players, trade for those players, go to the deadline and reassess and see what you need, I'm good with it. But it's like, I don't want to be trading from depth, especially guys like Sheets, Berger, Crochet, Vaughn. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, those guys are insurance policies, and I don't want to just blow those when that you can have these guys for nothing but money.
That's exactly what I mean. The Cubs end up getting, like, at the time, they're like, yeah, whatever, we got Schwarber. Like, they traded Jorge Soler for, a year of a closer because they didn't. I don't know. Then they fuck that up, and Wade Davis leaves. They lose it just gets fucked out of there. Then they sign Brandon Morrow. And next thing you know, it's like Jorge Soler is fucking ripping it up in a postseason again.
He had 48 bombs,
leading the American League in home runs. Just doing everything that you're like, I'd pay $8 million for that fucking guy. In the meantime, Jason Hayward's putting up a 75 OPS plus, paying him $28 million. It is frustrating when you get rid of these fucking guys you're counting on for really short-term gaps. Like, I'll always stand Gleyber Torres getting traded because for Aroldis Chapman. Yeah, it worked out. They won a World Series. They fucking sit here and bitch about the fact that he's an all-star with the Yankees. Like, yeah, okay, good.
Well,
he won a fucking World Series.
They want him gone.
That's basically the fucking exception, though, pal.
No, I know. I understand.
You move these prospects, like, how you have. I'm not gonna say you are, like, Andrew Vaughn. You're like, yo, we have this guy for 6 years. He's gonna give us some good fucking seasons. He's gonna be, and he's just an example of how many of these guys you have in your roster. Like, people shouldn't be so quick to just be like, oh, we'll just trade this guy and get this guy. We got Crochet. Who doesn't want Crochet? We'll fucking trade Crochet. It's like, dude, what if this guy turns out to be
Andrew Miller?
Yeah. who wouldn't? You guys be sitting there kicking yourselves in October when here comes Garrett Crochet out of the fucking bullpen. You're like, oh,
this fucking guy, he's gonna. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I don't want to happen. It makes me fucking. It gives me like a gross, dirty feeling. I don't want it. I don't want them to do that. Like, I mean, you look at Gavin Sheets, what he did last year. He hit 12 bombs and limited at bats in the second half, and then he showed up in the postseason, and he was fucking awesome. Berger came up last year. He was pounding the ball. He hit a bomb that still hasn't landed yet. It was like 118 off the bat. He was just pissing on the ball. He looks good. Like Crochet, he's absolutely filthy out of the pen, and he still has a chance to be a shutdown starter. That's why they drafted him. It's like, I don't want to deal these guys. So what the fuck are you doing? Like, all these players are sitting there for the taking.
You don't have to pay these guys right now. You still got some league minimums around.
Exactly. Nobody takes that into account either. Like, you want those cheap guys, you know. You have to. They're a necessity. And I'm not saying like Gavin Sheets or Berger or any of those guys is going to be some all-star or anything, but they're quality pieces that you're probably going to have to deal now because you didn't open up your wallets. And I say this all with the also knowing that the offseason is not complete, and this is the third time I'm going to say this, and as hard as it is right now for myself as a White Sox fan, and as much as I understand White Sox fans' angst and annoyance and anger at the last few days, the offseason is not over yet. It is not over yet. They still have a chance to add a right fielder that gets on base at a 375 clip and hits 30 bombs a year while playing perfectly fine outfield defense. And they can still trade for a second baseman and shouldn't have to deal from the depth that we just talked about. And if that happens, we're happy. There's no excuse for them to not, or there's no reason for White Sox fan not to be happy. Understand that everybody wants the big names like Simeon and Seager and all those guys. You don't need those guys. It'd be nice, but the White Sox, they still have a chance to be better in March than they were at the end of October when their playoff run ended. I say that it was 4 games, but when the playoffs ended. So, and I'm confident that that's going to happen while also being annoyed watching all these teams get way better yesterday. Like the Rangers spent $500 million yesterday. It's like the fucking Rangers.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot of money, and the Rangers are still fucking far off.
Right.
But
I do want to talk. I do want to get to that. But can we first acknowledge, though, Dave, it sounds like the White Sox, you're not hitting the panic button. There's still some work left to do, though.
There is.
Okay. There's also some work left to do on a lot of our cars, guys. And I know people out there listening, it's that time of fucking season. Snow's coming, rain's coming, hail's coming. All the shit's coming, guys. Is your car ready to go? Wintertime, Dave, how can people get ready for the wintertime?
You just go to ChevyDriveChicago.com, type in your zip code into the little search function, and see where the nearest Chevy dealership is to get service. And I got to my car yesterday.
Not a Chevy, by the way. Not a Chevy. And Dave still gets it serviced at Chevy, and I know a lot of people are nervous about that.
My next car will be a Chevy.
100%.
1,000%. But, I mean, they still service my car as, I mean, they don't.
They treat it like a Chevy.
They treat it like a Chevy. My car got hit. Fucking sucks. Someone sideswiped it.
Coming out?
Turn left? I have no idea.
Oh.
No idea. They took off, obviously. I didn't see it, but I got to take it to Chevy I got to get the back passenger side door completely fixed and the back trunk fixed. They completely fucked it up, and I'm not happy about it. But Chevy, I mean, I'm in good hands at least.
I feel like I'm going to keep doing the ad read as a professional, but there's part of me that just wants to dig into your unhappiness. So if you don't mind, just share.
They're doing construction in my building, and they're like renovating a bunch of the empty apartments. And I was walking out with one of the construction workers, if you want to call him that. We were walking out of the elevator together, and he's the one who noticed my car. He's like, "Is that your car?" I'm like, "Fuck." And he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." So I got it didn't happen in my parking lot even.
Oh.
It happened when I was parked over the last somewhere
on the street.
On the street, yeah.
Why were you parked on the street?
I don't know. It could have happened a couple days ago. I didn't even realize it.
Oh, just like coming home or whatever. I've done
yeah.
that before when I was living in the South Loop. I would be like, oh, I'll just fucking throw it up front. instead of going in the garage and opening the door and going up to the third level, I'd be like,
Mhm.
oh, I'll just throw it up on 7. I'll just throw it up on Michigan Avenue. No fucking problem. Easy, free parking. And then, like, 2 days later, I'd be like,
What
my
the
parking
fuck?
garage. Like, where the fuck is my car? What's that movie called?
Dude, where's my car?
Chevy Land, Chicago.
ChevyDriveChicago.com to find your local dealer today. I think my next car is going to be a Camaro.
I
gonna
like
get
the idea of you in a Camaro driving straight to spring training, nonstop from Chicago to, like,
About 1,800 miles, just boom, boom.
yeah.
Get there. Yeah, it'd take about 2 days. But yeah, ChevyDriveChicago.com. They're our preferred method of all car servicing needs. But yeah, so I'll end there with the White Sox. Like, as frustrating as it is right now, don't judge them until the offseason is done. If Kendall Graveman is their offseason signing of note, then we as White Sox fans have we reserve the right to want to fucking snap on Jerry Reinsdorf, because this would solely be a Jerry Reinsdorf move. He's the one who controls the finances. We all know that he does not like to set markets. He wants players on his terms and his terms only. And, I mean, that goes all the way back to the strike in 94, where he was the reason that the White Sox didn't win a World Series that year. And, like, it's just the truth. That's how he operates. It fucking sucks. But, Han, got your work cut out for you. And that's just all there is to it. But I will not be judging them until March 1st. And I think we'll be happy. I do truly think we will be happy.
It's evolved. It's good. It's good. I don't know if you could do another season of just being mad, like, from November to spring training. It's just not worth it.
This
Dave,
is the.
so I'm proud
it's
of
always
you in
my
some
favorite
respects.
time of year, because I think they're going to prove me wrong and be like, all right, here's fucking Corey Seager, Carlos Correa. Obviously, those guys didn't necessarily fit in the White Sox, like, roster construction, but, like, you know, a player of that caliber, like, just the fuck you signing the best player on the market. Every year I go and I'm like, this is going to be the year.
Mm-hmm.
Never is. Never has been. And it sucks. It fucking stinks. But they're still an awesome team.
Well, I would rather be a White Sox fan than a Cubs fan right now.
Why do you say that?
We have to do a rebuild. I think they're going to do a full rebuild. So I posted a blog about this yesterday. Go read it if you haven't read it. It's a long blog, so it's kind of selfish for me to direct the audience towards 1,800 words on the Cubs offseason plans and how I would, at 30,000 feet, approach it. But there's so much dissent in the fan base right now with Tom Ricketts. So let's just start there. People are very mad that the owner said publicly that he would spend money to field a competitive team. Like, he went out after the trade, was like, no, we'll do what it takes. We've always spent competitively, top of the league type stuff. So he's not doing it. So now people are, like, furious because, well, Tom, why did you say this after the season? Why did you fucking tell us you were going to go out, spend all this money, get these players, and now you see mega deals, mid-tier deals, and then you see the Cubs. Wade Miley off waivers, Yan Gomes 2 years, $13 million, a minor league lefty reliever. I mean, you don't get any action here that even remotely backs up what Tom Ricketts said. So the fans are pretty fucking pissed at Tom Ricketts, Dave.
They've been pissed at him for a minute, and I swore to God, like in July or so, when the Cubs traded everybody, I was looking at, like, what the offseason was more than likely going to look like, and I'm like, there's no way they don't wind up with a Seager or Correa. There's no way.
Really?
I thought, I mean, it was ripe for the plucking. You signed one of those, like Corey Seager, 10-year deal, $325. I thought that had Cubs written all over one of those guys. I'm not saying that I think they should have. I thought that's what the Cubs were going to do.
So,
like, they were
you and I agree that would be preposterous and stupid.
Preposterous.
But you don't think they were smart enough to figure, you don't think Jed Hoyer's sitting there like the walls are closing in on him, like nobody knows how bad it is?
Then don't fucking say that.
I know, but it's Tom Ricketts saying it. It's not fucking Jed.
So
what do you think? Jed's going to go into Tom's office and be like, hey, dude, by the way, when you go on Marquee Network, which you own, like when you're signing my paycheck, could you just do me a favor and not talk to the media?
I think that absolutely has gone down in the Cubs front office.
I also think that Jed Hoyer, here's a fucking sneaky suspicion, Jed Hoyer's great trait to me is not scouting, player development, baseball, none of that. To me, and it's a crazy theory, suspicion, this is not confirmed, that Jed Hoyer was Theo's right-hand organization, administrative, handshake,
numbers, contract,
run the meeting, not even numbers or contract, just kind of like his fucking buddy guy, like, yeah, I can operate, I'll talk to the owner, don't worry, I'll go talk to the owner, don't worry, I'll go talk to business. Yeah, I'll go do that meeting with the fucking whoever it is. I just feel like he and Theo were buddies, and he came along. Jed's super smart, super talented. He's going to get this turned around. But I don't think he's the type of guy that is, like, going to sit down and go, no, I bet he can. And I bet he's so adept at this stuff. And I'm not trying to say Jed's a fucking nincompoop here. I'm just saying when you say, like, what is his strength? What is he there to do? I honestly think he's there to, like, pour coffee for Tom Ricketts in the meeting and be like, yeah, we're working on it. In the meantime, I think he's just getting dogs to work in the conference room. Close the door, run the numbers, build the spreadsheets, just go give me your best stuff. I'm going to go
like
handle
in the
it.
social
I'm going to
network,
go handle
all
the
those
bullshit.
nerds, they're looking for the internship, like those kind of guys. Okay, I can see
where
that.
he's like, yo, I'll go talk to the media. I'll talk to Tom Ricketts. I'll take the heat. I'll put on the fucking blazer. I'll go sit down with Bruce Levine for a half hour. You know, I'll go on 670 to score. I'll do all this because I think the Cubs need – I think that's a job for the Cubs. I don't think it's a job for the White Sox. No offense. I think that is a job for the Cubs.
Definitely.
Be Johnny fucking. Look at me, and not. So I think that's where Jed's head is at as the president and as the top baseball guy. Is like, okay, I have to manage the baseball relations with internally, which is probably a huge fucking responsibility.
Oh yeah, definitely for that organization. Fuck yeah, it is.
And just the way the fans have come out, like, I can't believe, and I'm not saying you should be entitled, and I do think there's an element when you hear stuff like, well, the Cubs have the most expensive fan experience in baseball. There's an element where you're like, dude, if it's $107 on average, it's like 10% higher than the Yankees. If you're $107 on average to go to the ballpark, come on, just go spend some fucking money. I buy into that. You can say that.
I definitely do. Yeah, fuck yeah. Absolutely.
However,
that is your right as a fan.
But you're right. You're also entitled to, like, you know, do you want to see a successful team? Yes. And then you start weighing these two things where it's like, there is no path forward with the 2022 Cubs where they could spend money, make a good team, and then compete over the next 7 years in this new window that they're trying to. There's just literally no path forward at fucking all in the least bit to compete for a division title, much less. I mean, dude, the White Sox ran away with the AL Central. Getting to the playoffs, it's a whole different dynamic. And I'm looking at this Cubs team. I'm not even fuck October. There's no way they could win a division if they went and let's go do the moves the Rangers did. Bring in John Gray. Bring in fucking Marcus Semien. Bring in fucking Corey Seager. You go win 82 fucking games, finish in third place,
yeah, the Rangers
spend
are gonna
$200
win
million,
yeah,
and you'll be just as fucking pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe slightly less pissed off on a day-to-day basis if they were winning 66 games versus 82 games. But point remains. These fucking moves, if the moves could be made, I thought the moves would have been made. To me, the biggest move the Cubs made was getting the assistant GM from the Astros, the guy with the Dodgers, Astros and Dodgers who built their quantitative development programs, and they got Carter Hawkins from the Indians. Now, whether he turns out to be an awesome GM or not, to me, that's the big move. And then you're going to tell that guy, like, all right, you get 12 months, get a feel of the organization, and let's work and build this business or this process, this baseball plan together of how we restock the farm system and we have guys that can be knocking on the door at AA and AAA consistently to make an impact in the big leagues.
Yep.
Because the Cubs simply now here's a long-winded fucking soliloquy here because this statistic's going to blow your mind. Here's 4 regular players from the Cubs that are either starting pitchers or position players that have been drafted, signed, or developed, Dave, since 2017. Since the 2017 season, the start of it. Ian Happ, David Bodie, Alec Mills, Adbert Alzolay. I'll repeat myself. 4 regular players that come out of the Cubs farm system in the last 17, 18, 19, 5 full seasons. Ian Happ, David Bodie, Alec Mills, Adbert Alzolay. And now if I pulled up all the fucking guys that came into the White Sox, here's the guys that came up in the Cardinals organization. I mean, it would be a laughable comparison.
Yeah, that
laughable.
Yeah. That's tough.
So I think your offseason move here, it's like Carter Hawkins, like go reconcile. How do we like 3 years from now not even come close to that? The money's going to be – I have no – it's not like the Cubs are never going to spend money again. They went out and signed you fucking Darvish for $130 million when they had Hayward, when they had Lester, when they were trying to figure out what to do with Bryant, Baez,
Rizzo.
fucking everybody.
Yep.
They still went out and paid $130 million for a guy who turned out to suck for the first half of that deal. How am I doing?
You're doing good. Keep going. Keep going.
It's warm in this room. I just say that.
It is usually warm in here. Usually it's cold.
It's usually cold. Yeah, it's really hot right now.
I think somebody was working on the heating, and they got that shit free. This shit works me up though. I'm gonna land this plane though pretty steadily here because as the Cubs progress through free agency, I want to just tell anybody who's willing to listen to me that like you should want a tank. You should want Wilson Contreras to get traded. You should want Yan Gomes to be the guy that is grooming Miguel Amaya, not Wilson Contreras, who's going to be fucking disgruntled and not happy when he realizes the team sucks. So just fucking get rid of Wilson Contreras now. You can't trade a starting catcher at the deadline for the same value you can in the offseason because the pitching coach and the manager want the fucking catcher down at spring training for 8 weeks working with everybody, getting a feel for their stuff. You don't want to bring in a starting catcher in the middle of a pennant race and be like, oh, here's these fucking lefties with cutters and shit. You can do with a backup. You can do with a veteran. Those guys value high always. Starting catchers, the value's now. They just signed Yan Gomes. I'd trade Wilson Contreras. I'd make Ian have the starting center fielder and be like, listen, dude, honestly, here's the situation. You can play your way out of this hellhole. You want to get traded to fucking, like, please, we'll make you. You want to go play somewhere? You want to play low key? You want to go play in California? Like, we'll work on this together, dude. Or if he wants to be here long term, I think he's a fucking dynamic talent. But you're going to need guys around him. It's just it's a miserable situation to think about how the fuck this Cubs team does anything better than 70 wins, and as Cubs fans, I'm like begging people to embrace it just for this one year. For 1 year.
I hear that. I hear that loud and clear. I was as tough as it was to trade Chris Sale. Like when they traded Chris Sale, it was December 6th of 2016, and then the next day on December 7th, anniversary 9/11 or not 9/11, Pearl Harbor.
Big days in American history. No problem mixing.
They traded Adam Eaton, and then all of a sudden their farm system went from like worst to first. I was all for that. I was like, give me the losses, give me the international signing money, give me the draft pool money, give me the top 5 picks, give me all of it, because I know in 3, 4, 5 years the White Sox are going to be very good. They're going to be very cheap, and they're going to be able to drop $25, $30 million.
Now you guys just need to go do it though.
Exactly. And it's like that. What's the Judge Judy? Is that her name?
Yeah, she makes like $50 million a year.
Yeah, like crazy fucking money.
I've said this before. I want to do arbitration, mediation stuff for Barstool. I think it'd be funny if we got a panel of 3 guys in like robes and we just like settle debates.
You dropped out of law school twice.
I'm ready to fucking do it.
You're qualified.
I'm qualified enough to understand the arguments and then give advice that cannot be legally used against me.
There you go.
Because I'm like, I dropped out twice.
Yeah,
Why would you believe me?
Exactly.
Idiots.
But yeah, they haven't fucking done that. Like when I loved at the time all the extensions, like Eloy to Robert to Minkata, all those guys going back to Chris Sale. Like those are all awesome extensions. You get these guys through the primes of their career, and then like how often do you want to pay players after they're 30? Typically those deals don't work out, but like you have. All right, let's go down the list. You have left field locked up until like 2028. You have center field locked up till like 2028. No right fielder. You have third baseman Cotter locked up till 2028. You got shortstop Tim Anderson. I think he's 2025. Second base is a black hole. First base Abreu. This is his last year. He's a free agent next year, but I'm sure they'll give him his hometown, $18 million or whatever next year. And next year, Grandal, he's a free agent as good as he's been. You have your core players, the Eloy, Robert, Mancata, Anderson, locked up forever. Everything is set in stone for your finances aside from 2 positions. And then the little fill-in guys like middle relievers and shit like that, backup catcher, where that $25 million to a player shouldn't hamstring you. It should not.
I think it's going to be. I'm sorry as you're saying this. I think it's going to be annoying as you talk about the second base hole with Madrigal. I think there's no way this doesn't annoy you guys for the next couple of years because I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be good enough, and I think you guys are going to be looking at him and being like, "This was good enough."
It was.
That's the risk. You guys go out, spend money, or don't get a good player at second, and it's like, Madrigal doesn't even need to be great or good. He needs to be major league average.
Hit 9
to create a risk for White Sox fans to be like, what the fuck? This guy's.
I'll never get mad at that trade because
really
it was like going back to when they drafted Madrigal. I was never high on him. Like you can go back on Redline Radio. You were super high on him. He's a weird baseball player that he's a completely. He's like a unicorn. You just don't see guys like him and. When they dealt him and Hoyer, like Hoyer was, I think, an 11th rounder out of Wichita State. He has the stuff to be really good, be an 8th, 9th inning guy, but you can go and find those guys. Like Madrigal, he was cheap and he was fine. Like when they traded for Kimbrel, that was them saying we're going to try to win a World Series with Hendricks, Kimbrel, and Kopech, and then Crochet and Bummer in the bullpen. And that was a World Series or bust move, and I'll never get mad at a move like that. Like they were trying to win a World Series with that move. That's why I don't really care. It didn't work out. It fell completely flat on its face. It is what it is. Like I'm not crying over the loss of Nick Madrigal. I'm crying over their inability thus far to replace Nick Madrigal. And if they do get a Gene Segura for
be a great fit.
It'd be perfectly fine.
He balls out, just fucking hits lasers. Nobody hits the ball. I should say nobody, but he hits the ball just about as hard as anybody in Major League Baseball.
We can look this up. It's quantifiable now, and I believe you are near correct.
He was a big prospect, too. I can't remember what organization he was. Maybe the Angels originally, and he was a shortstop who was a little big and heavy. But maybe I'm confusing him with Miguel Sano, but Miguel Sano was a Twins guy.
His max exit velocity is in the 88th percentile. Great defender. His average exit velocity is in the 16th percentile. So, but his K rate and whip
pretty
rate,
high, like top 15, 20%.
Yeah, no,
he's
he's completely fine. I mean,
but I'm saying I think he fits that lineup.
Yes.
Like people said they're not all the same players. Cesar Hernandez is a fucking dynamic guy, run a little bit, hit for power, strike out a lot. Madrigal, high contact, supposed to have a high IQ type stuff. Ben Zobrist would have been the fucking switch guy who could do a little bit of everything really fucking well. And then Segura would have, to me, profiles as like a fucking don't make a mistake to this big fucking cocksucker. He is going to absolutely smoke it. And that is the type of guy I would love to see hit next to Eloy, hitting in front of him.
Well, he would hit ninth. That's the thing. Like he'd hit ninth.
Fastball fucking city.
Yeah, just fucking trot him out, hit ninth. Like
that'd be crazy.
It'd be great. And then Kimbrel can go do whatever the fuck he wants in Philly, wherever else he may get dealt. And, like, I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't care about Nick Madrigal. But you have to fucking do it. You can't, like, gamble on, like, this isn't a time to gamble on like, a Rami Gonzalez. Do you know who Rami Gonzalez is?
Is that the guy who played Freddie Mercury and
That's Rami Malek. But yes, that is the guy. Rami Gonzalez might as well be Rami Malek. But he was 20th rounder, I believe, out of Miami and flew through the system this year and got his shot. He's got sweet pop. Really good laterally from what I saw. He can play both middle infield. They can play anywhere, basically. Mm-hmm. Play the corners in the outfield in a pinch, which he did do. But that's the kind of guy the Cubs should be gambling on right now.
Yeah.
Exact to a T. The kind of guy that the Cubs should be running out there every day. Like, see what this guy is. See if we got a late round gem, someone who can hit 20 bombs, steal 20 bases, play very good middle infield defense. Like, that's not a guy the White Sox should be gambling on. They should be fucking spending on a sure thing. I know 7 years for 175 a lot is a fuck ton for a middle infielder, but I don't give a shit about 2028. I give a shit about 2022. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to get 3 or 4 fucking awesome years out of Marcus Semien, and then the latter half of that, like, that's the way baseball works, and it's aggravating. It's very, very aggravating. And if you want to go back to it,
but I'm saying I'd rather be
fucking Bryce Harper would have been a perfect fit. Why they didn't sign Bryce Harper in the 2018 offseason makes me sick. Because he, like, that lefty he pounds right-handed pitching. Good outfielder, right fielder, middle of the order bat, gets on base. He is every single thing the White Sox need, but they weren't comfortable with the terms. It's like, well,
Why?
you gotta you have to exceed comfort level for these kind of
Oh,
players.
yeah, I remember that. I remember that line. I remember that. But I also remember, like, signing or circling, like, the Bryce Harper offseason years in advance. It was like maybe the Cubs had Chris Bryant for a year or something in the minors. And you're like, oh, wait till they have fucking Harper and Bryant together. That was so disappointing to get to that offseason. The Cubs are like, Bryce Harper? Like, no. We got Yu Darvish, Hayward, Lester. We're sad for different reasons, Dave, but the same reason. We feel let down.
56 seconds ago, the Kendall Graveman signing was officially announced.
Great player. Love the fact he converted. Thought he was filthy as a starter in Oakland. But
no, it's a Kendall Graveman's a very good pitcher. Well, I should say this. Kendall Graveman, I think his best years are ahead of him.
Hopefully Rick Hahn asked him, do you mind pitching 6th, 7th, 8th inning, 9th? Is there anything you're going to tell us when you get here that, like, prevents you from being...
I have to pitch it. Like, and you know what? And people are like, oh, Kimbrel was misused. I get pitchers are creatures of habit. I get they have their methods and their ways. Get the fuck out of my face.
No, if he was 23, Dave, yes. If he was like a young guy,
I don't
high
give a
draft
shit. Like,
pick, fucking swaggy, yeah, you could tell him to fuck off. This dude is going in the Hall of Fame.
I mean,
he's like coming in there and like, hey, Hall of Fame, here's the thing, though. Only if you use me like this. Then you get a Hall of Famer.
So then you just completely fucking suck in the 8th inning? That doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not telling you that it's a good proposition. But I think it's pretty fair at this point. It's black and white. This was not a confusion thing for the White Sox. Craig Kimbrel is like a known 9th inning, nobody on, nobody out.
To the White Sox defense, and I don't want to hear any shit about carrying water for the front
shut
office
the
or
fuck
Tony,
up, Lance.
For Tony La Russa or anything. Like, I want White Sox fans to answer this question. If you abide solely by Kimbrel has to pitch 9th, are you going to put the guy who's getting completely fucking shit on in the 7th and 8th inning in the 9th inning and replace the 9th inning guy with the guy who's completely shut down? That doesn't make sense to me. How the fuck are you supposed to tell Liam Hendricks, like, oh, hey, you've been unbelievable this year. You're about to win the Rolaids Relief Man of the Year. But you just got demoted to the 8th inning, and we're taking the guy who stunk in the 8th inning and pitch him not. You can't do that.
I think a lot of people question that immediately when the thing happened. I pegged that as like, yo, that's the story. To me, I thought that was I shouldn't say that's a story and fucking pump my. I remember being that's a big fucking story and a big deal and a big narrative and Tyler Russo's got to figure this out. You know, does Liam Hendricks care when he pitches? I mean, whether or not this wasn't like hidden on the fucking 27th page of the scouting report and the White Sox trade for him. Like, oh, did you see this? Did you know this? People have been walking around for years. Guys like me being like, hey, don't put Greg Kimbrel in the 8th inning. That's me. I'm not on a conference call looking at spreadsheets, drinking nice fucking, what do you think? They drink lattes, flat whites on these trade calls?
Probably.
You know, nice spread of bagels, schmear. I'm not in that environment dialed into this stuff, and even I'm sitting here being like, yeah, Craig Kimbrel, watch out. Don't put him in the 8th inning and ask for him to do something he's not comfortable doing because he'll fold.
Well, I mean, he's a fucking pussy then. Like,
you guys are trading him?
Yeah, he's gone.
Picked up $16 million.
Hopefully they can get rid of the.
It's not shabby if he's on.
No, it's not. Not at all. I mean, that's a steal if he's on. I mean, Kimbrel's making $18 million a year. or Hendricks is making $18 million a year.
It'd just be funny, like the White Sox are trying to deal Craig Kimbrel, and they're just like sliding the Cubs statistics across the sheet. They're just showing Cubs highlights. We're like, look,
I mean,
his video here.
His stuff never got worse. I'll say that. His stuff never got worse with the White Sox. It was all command. And then he'd be behind in counts 2-0, 3-1, and here comes a fastball, 98 miles an hour down the middle, and see you later. I
think the Cubs and Sox have this like weird thing where they want to do deals with each other too now, because I feel like Rick is inclined to do a deal with the Cubs because he like wants to beat them. He got a taste of the Quintana success, shoved that down our fucking throats like a bad boy, attaboy Rick, and it's like, yeah, let's do the magical Kimbrel trade. This will be interesting. If you guys trade Kimbrel and get like great prospects, and those prospects turn out to be way better than Nick Madrigal, I will be pissed.
That's not going to happen. It'll be a bad contract for a bad contract swap. Sox don't need Kimbrel. The Phillies probably are looking to unload Segura. They got what the fuck? They got that Stott, S-T-O-T-T. I'm blanking on his first name.
Stottlemyre? That's a popular baseball name.
Yeah, Mel Stottlemyre. Remember him?
Jason?
They got him knocking on the door, so they can play him, and he'll probably be better than Segura. So just do the swap. Phillies can, the move makes sense on paper, and hopefully it gets done today. From what I understand through the course of now it's gonna happen unless all hell breaks loose today. But over the course of the lockout, teams can still talk trades. They just can't sign papers until the lockout's done.
Okay, so you can agree, but even so, not having a signature, these agents are
I know.
They're
That's
just
the
such
thing, yeah.
rat shady fucks. But they have to be, right?
Yeah, I don't hate them for
Would
it.
you be?
Fuck yeah, I'd be the dirtiest motherfucker on earth.
Because those owners are just like, they'll
all be dirty. It's going to be weird following along because, I don't know how the leaks are going to go down, but I'm sure there will be leaks over the course of the lockout.
Oh, prevalent. It's going to be very leaky.
And then next, I would say after the new year, I'll hit up the White Sox player rep. I'll hit up Gio and try to get a feel for where negotiations are looking. Because I think he'd be kind of upfront with me. Maybe not. He might just tell me to fucking pound sand. But, I don't know. I got to get to March because the next few months are just going to be brutal for me. That said, with the new CBA, how did you I know as a Cubs fan, it was kind of uneventful. For White Sox, it was uneventful in a very bad way. Cubs fans just kind of apathetic way. I loved that there was kind of a shot clock on signings.
Oh, this has been actually. Yeah. I do like that they have a window. I would prefer a window as opposed to just it doesn't matter. Show up in spring training. It'd be great if they came back and yo, here's a dedicated period. I personally have been more interested in this than any other.
Oh yeah,
offseason.
It's been awesome.
Maybe they sign Darvish because I think the Cubs have only signed one position player to a multi-year deal in the last 6 years, Daniel Descalso, 2 years, $5 million. There wasn't shit. You got to November, you're like, all right, I hope Rizzo fucking trains hard. I hope KB gets healthy. I hope Baez, has a good time in Puerto Rico. There was no following up on adding and subtracting because you were like, well, we have our fucking team. What we need is them to not suck dick in October.
Mm-hmm.
Just as simple as that. But I don't know where I was going with that, Dave. I really don't know where I was going with that.
The last week plus, I don't think any Chicago fans know where we're going with anything right now.
I'm losing my mind.
I'm losing my mind. I just can't fucking the offseason kills me more than the season. I have learned over the last 5 years, I became a much, much smarter baseball fan, and I've learned not to worry about a couple losses in a row or a poor performance out of a player for a week or 2 weeks or a month even. I can typically see things at with a broader perspective and learn not to fly out the handle in a good or a positive or negative way. But the offseason, it doesn't count for the offseason. I'm following Heyman and Rosenthal and Passan and all these guys like fucking crazy, and just when I see all these teams going for the jugular, even if I think they should or shouldn't, they're doing it. It's disheartening when the Sox signed Kendall Graveman, who is who I think's filthy. He's fucking dirty. 97.
Right. You guys want and need more at this point, and it's been years.
It's they're so close to being just an awesome team for years and years and years on end. And it's go for the jugular. What are you waiting for? This was probably the best collection of free agents that I can remember in one offseason. Yes.
Everybody. 100%. Correa hasn't signed yet.
Correa, that's it. And I hope to God he signs with the Yankees.
And he might be the best player out there. I mean, if you look at the numbers, he is the best player. I do have a question about, could he go to – I love that Baez is going to the Tigers. I think he's going to be a perfect fit. They're going to bring up Torkelson. They'll bring up Riley Green. They'll have these young guys that can like lean and feed off Javi Baez as they start their young careers in what should be promising careers. Would the Correa be that guy? Javi will definitely go in there and be like, hey, man, this is how you play. He'll be so cool. He'll be like, yo, fuck this. He'll be so embracing and cool to like the young guys that the Tigers have 2 top 10 position player prospects, not top 10 prospects that are position players that will be hitting in the middle of their lineup. Javi Baez is going to be a great fucking guy for them because he just wants to see people succeed, be happy, have a good time, win some fucking baseball games. Correa, though, I think Correa needs to just like walk into an environment where it's like, yo, the team's fucking stacked, but we need you to hit 3. I think if the environment's different than that, I think Correa is going to struggle out of the gate. I think he's just going to be like this is a dude who literally all he knows in pro ball is playing next to Jose Altuve. Mm-hmm. Generational second baseman. This is a guy who only knows playing on 95-win teams with fucking lights-out pitching staffs. So, and obviously who knows cheating, but, you know, he's had Alex Bregman to his right. He's had Jose Altuve to his left for basically his entire career.
Yeah, basically his whole career.
So that's why I'd be nervous. Like, could Correa just easily go into, like, if people are like, oh, Correa should sign with the Cubs. If the Cubs go out and sign Correa, I'll fucking shit my pants. Well, okay, here's Nico Horner. Like, what? What is this about?
Well, Carlos Correa, I mean,
that's why I like the Baez sign, sorry.
He's 27 years old. He is
140 OPS plus.
He's an awesome defender. I mean, everything about him is just awesome. He's fucking fantastic baseball player. There's not a single wart.
220, gorgeous-looking baseball player. Little bit of injury.
Yeah, there's the injury concern there, like that.
But also a lot of teams where he didn't need to come back because they're 20 fucking games up in the standings.
He's gonna. I mean, judging by what Seager got, Correa's gonna get 350, no problem. Like absolutely no problem, and he's better than Machado. I think he plays up the middle too, so you got to take that into account. Mm-hmm. I mean 310 for. I'm saying 375 for Correa.
Fuck. That's why. Well, we go back to the Tigers, and I remember talking to Castellani, and he's like, dude, they got to get Correa. I think Baez is fine right now because then you can go spend a ton more money next offseason, get another outfield, do some shit. And I'm happy Baez gets to play. Dude, the Tigers play at 11:30 and 12 o'clock seemingly every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I feel like. So that's a nice thing. Javi Baez for lunch? Dave?
I'm down. And Correa's 27 as well. He just got 325.
I had one other thing.
Well, I was getting at. I think the Yankees are probably going to sign Correa now for 375. Yankees fans are going to be jumping for joy. I don't think they should.
Shit to him right now.
It's not talking shit. It's talking in what I believe are facts. Like they're going to have $36 million owed to Cole for the next. It'll be 6 more years. Then you got Judge due next year. He's a free agent after the 22 season. He's going to get $300 million more than likely. You got Stanton on the books for $28 million a year, some shit. He's got a $330 million deal, I believe it is. And then Correa, I'm guessing 10 for $375. That is 4 players making, call it an average of like $33 million. That is a fucking piss poor allocation of resources. I mean, you can't win unless you have a quality team 1 through 26. And the Yankees don't have a first baseman unless you want to count.
Do the Yankees just don't play hard? I feel like we talk about this. Like the Yankees get talked about so much. They just don't. They're not a good team.
No, they're not.
They don't play together. There's no like Brett Gardner's got some fire in his ass, and he looks
but
ridiculous.
He's like fucking 50
because the other guys don't get. Nobody gives. It's like I shouldn't say nobody gives a fuck. But when I look at the Yankees, I literally see them as like contracts and like, oh, this guy.
That's all they give a shit
There's
about.
nothing where it's like, oh, these guys came up together. They
I have
fuck
this.
People up.
A very good source, let's say that. So during the Cornfield game at the Field of Dreams, Vaughn hit a single. He got to first base, and Luke Voigt was playing first base, and Vaughn's just trying to make small talk, as is probably the case. Anytime you get to first base, you just kind of shoot the shit with the first baseman. And he looked at Luke Voigt, and he goes, "This is pretty cool, huh?" Like talking about the aura of the game, minor league amount of people there. 8,000 people, I think it was total. The cornfield, the lights. And Luke Voigt just looked at him. He's like, yeah. And just kept going. He's like, those guys have no fun. They're fucking just like robots playing the game, collecting
Paul Konerko would never. Anthony Rizzo would never.
Like, it's, if you want to do that, fine, but like,
yeah, they're just soulless. Like,
yeah, exactly. They're soulless.
Like,
They're soulless. And if you, I mean, they don't like I said, Yankees fans turned on Voit like totally last year. They went and got Rizzo to play over him. Rizzo's gone. They don't have Torres stinks. Last year they had Runed. I don't know how do you say it.
Yeah, Odor
playing second base. Gardner in center field. Third base was Gio Urshela, who is fine.
Yeah, I mean they're not.
I mean, and then their pitching staff, they got Garrett Cole, Monty, who I think is a completely fine piece, and then after that, just nothing. It's like if you want to go sign create a 375, like you're not good still. You're still not fucking good.
To
like,
me,
go
yeah,
ahead
the Stanton thing holds them up for me. I just don't like Giancarlo Stanton. I think Aaron Judge I think Aaron Judge is like miles better than Giancarlo Stanton.
I think so. He's a complete player.
You could build around that. I just hate how much they're paying that DH. He's got to be hitting 60 home runs for that to matter.
He had a good year last year, but next year he could hit 230 with fucking injuries and 27 home runs and a 300 on base.
Hey, no doubt about that. He had a good year. 35 home runs, 870 OPS is a fucking $30-something million DH. It's like, it's good. It's great. It's very productive. It puts him in the top part of power hitters in Major League Baseball. But again, I just don't like the guy. I don't think he's – I don't know. The Yankees need like a fucking bad boy, like homegrown. This is the dude. They need a couple of these just dudes that came up. Go draft some fucking high school guys and like turn them into solid adult professional baseball players. Stop fucking every time the Yankees get a prospect. It's like, oh, here's the next big thing. They put him in there, put the lights on. They're like, okay, now do something special. Hit 45 home runs. Like, I just feel like they don't do a good job at all.
Do you know who
guys
Jason
up, bringing them
Dominguez
together,
is?
doing anything that even remotely helps Major League cohesiveness. No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Jason Dominguez is one of their bigger prospects. He looks like he should be playing middle linebacker for the Bears. Just completely fucking yoked up out of his skull. Runs like a 4.2 40.
Yeah, okay, I see this. Big guy.
I mean, that's who they're hanging there. They're like, he's become the new guy. Like, oh, we could just trade this for that. Like, we'll trade for Mike Trout and we'll give him Jason Dominguez. Jason Dominguez in A-ball last year had a 31% K rate, hit 258, and he had a weighted run created plus of 105. It's like, obviously,
it's like you're hanging your hat on a guy
that's. But like, dude. Like,
and he's years away too.
He's years away.
He's a young kid.
Like, that's great and everything, but like, come on. Like the Yankees. I hope they sign Correa because they are so. Like the Yankees signing Correa is a fuck you to the White Sox, and I'll bring this all full circle. Not necessarily because the White Sox need Correa, which they don't. I mean, there's not really a spot for him unless you moved Moncada back to second. Correa could play third. The Yankees signing him is just them exacting their financial might on the rest of the league, even though I don't think it would work out for them. But that would be why they were doing it, because they can. But they need to fill in around him, and because of his contract on top of all the other contracts I talked about, they're still not a complete team. They're still a very, very flawed team, and they're not a team that should be looking to drop that kind of money at this juncture on a player of that ilk. The White Sox have 2 holes to fill. 2.5, I'll call it, with the starting pitching, because they need a fifth guy. Maybe that'll be Keuchel, and he has a fine year next year. I don't know, whatever. 2 holes, call it. The White Sox could sign a player for that amount of money, and there's your team for the next fucking 10 years, give or take. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why not do it one time? Like, it hasn't worked for you this far. I mean, 2005 is a long time ago. Your methods haven't worked since then, so what the fuck? Like, why not try something different, Mm-hmm. Definition of insanity. And it all goes back to Jerry Reinsdorf and his willingness to spend at that level. He has no problem spending $60 million on a player who fucking stinks, like going back to Adam Dunn in 2012 or whatever, or Adam LaRoche, like Jeff Keppinger. Like, he has no problem spending a lot of money on the guys that are on by far the downswing of their career. He doesn't like to spend money on these guys that the best years are still maybe ahead of him because they're 27-year-old as free agency. So, it drives me nuts.
You'll be all right.
But at the same time, I hope the Yankees go and do it because they'd be completely fucked. You could kiss Aaron Judge goodbye if you go and sign Carlos Correa. Maybe they want to do that.
All right, Carlos Correa. This is pretty much last check here on the list. There's one more thing I wanted to say, but this has been a full-bodied baseball discussion. I'm warm. I'm hot. I'm a little perspiration on my back. It's good to get back in the studio and chop this stuff up. For the Cubs, it's a very interesting time because there's going to be more long-term strategy stuff, which is interesting to talk and think about. You know, they're not filling these short-term gaps like Dave's talking about, second base, right field, plug and play these guys. They need this to get to the next level. Kind of everything's open. You know, Schwindel get a chance. Wisdom gets a chance. Sounds like Wilson Contreras firmly on the trade block. You know, Jason Hayward will play out. He doesn't really count. Brennan Davis has become allegedly the third best outfield prospect in baseball.
I just had a fucking awful idea. What did you think?
What?
The White Sox need a lefty. They need a right fielder.
No, dude.
Don't fucking speak it into existence. You guys know exactly what I'm getting at. Don't even
You
think
guys
about
would
it.
not. Although you guys would love. I feel like Jason Hayward would fucking dominate for the White Sox.
I don't even want to take that risk.
You know, figure out some contract stuff. It sucks because, you know, you may want the Cubs to win and be good and compete, but the reality is they're miles behind winning a World Series, and they're miles behind the Brewers and the Cardinals right now. You would be stupid to get into the ring and fight these guys right now. You're not strong enough. You don't have what it takes. You're carrying your left a little low. You need to get back in the fucking gym, put some weight on, get the lessons figured out. That's as simple as an analogy as I can make. You will absolutely get your fucking ass kicked if you try and win this fight right now. So take a step back. Now, the shitty part is they're going to win 66 games. Maybe if they continue to do this. Again, sounds like Wilson Contreras is getting traded, which means you're bringing in Yan Gomes to catch Wade Miley, Kyle Hendricks, and anybody else who throws between 85 and 88 miles an hour in the National League. I mean, it's just a fucking fact right now. So, as fans, try and enjoy a summer maybe. Go to a lake house. You know, ticket prices will be cheaper.
I recommend St. Joe's, Michigan.
St. Joe's, Michigan's fucking lovely this time of year. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do. There is going to be a different focus of fun. Brennan Davis is going to be fucking great. They're going to get some great, like some of these guys from the Darvish deal are going to turn out. Some of the guys from the Chris Bryant and the Rizzo and the Baez, like these guys are going to turn out. They're going to be, and it'll be fun because when Pete Crow Armstrong, for instance, gets to the big leagues, it's not just Pete Crow Armstrong that's taking ABs. I love that name. Those are Javi Baez ABs too. There's some continuity here, guys. This isn't like everything's gone and goodbye. We're just retooling, reshaping. And I'm like, all right, fine. Let's fucking burn it down. We'll have a little fun in the process. You know, we'll get over all this baggage. We'll take a year. Who gives a fuck? Stop asking me if I saw the Anthony Rizzo home run. Stop asking me what I think about it. They're out of the fucking system. I care about the Cubs organization. That's where my loyalty lies. The fucking uniform, which is sad because I don't know if they deserve it. But that's where my heart lies. I think the Cubs should. I think the next 12 months should be pretty fun stuff to follow. You just got to work a little bit harder to enjoy it. So there's my fucking piece. That's what I want.
No,
to say.
there's.
How's that, Lance?
There's something cathartic about rooting for a team to lose. Like, the wins are fun.
Accepting defeat. Let's say that.
Yeah. Accepting defeat. We'll put it that way.
Like, fine.
You know what? Actually, I want to say this. Miguel Hermosillo. You know who used to coach him?
Same
Me.
Guy.
Kind of, for a winner. A little bit.
I thought that
he's the perfect fucking guy that the Cubs should be playing right now, and they just
I want to see I want to see the Cubs play 50 of those guys.
50, exactly. Those kind of guys. I'm not saying necessarily Miguel Hermosillo, but he should be like.
Well, that works in tandem with building your farm system. Is you just throw these guys at the wall. You see who stick. Schwindel stuck. Wisdom stuck. Ortega stuck. Those three guys are going to be part of the roster, and they'll just like stick as long as you can. Because if those guys go out and play 110, 115 OPS plus, Dave, you're not moving those guys off their spots as you get bigger and better. You're just going to be like, all right, we'll plug in here. We got Ed Howard at short. We're going to move him to center. You have more flexibility because it's like, well, it doesn't really matter if Patrick, like, you're not all fucking in on those tiers of players you're talking about. Or I'm not all in on Ortega. Okay, he's great now. He's great next year. He'll play until he's not good. You get those guys, and you build up your own homegrown guys. and you look at your payroll and you go, that's how you get a payroll at $30 million fucking dollars before you even go to free agency. That's how you get a payroll at $40 million. You get 3 or 4 guys you drafted, developed, international signings. You get 2 or 3 guys that caught on, waivers, 27-year-olds, prospects who didn't make it, has-beens, nobodies, bad situations, maybe former Oriole pitchers. Those seem to be popular fucking trends. And then you go get your big swinging dicks.
Exactly.
White Sox have number 1 and 2 already filled out. You guys just don't get your big swinging dicks. And the Cubs spent
and I
so
get that
much
they
time.
have the big swinging dicks in-house. I think that, I'll use Castellani, so it doesn't seem like I'm coming off his box. But, like, Luis Robert has multiple MVP ceiling to him. That's not me saying it. That is Chris Castellani, someone who is, a rival fan. Go and fucking compliment him with other superstars. Don't do the patchwork bullshit. Don't do it.
I agree, Dave.
Fucking work. It doesn't work. And if you were going to extend all these guys and pay them like people, and this is what I'll end on with the White Sox. If people have a tendency, fans have a tendency to, even like analysts have a tendency, if you watch MLB Net and shit, to say like going back to the Chris Sale signing and deal, that was a player-friendly deal. It's like, oh my God, he's so cheap. That is not the case with those deals. Eloy Jimenez is guaranteed, I think it's like $78 million, whatever it is. He would make $550,000, about $750,000, and $1 million his first 3 years. Mm-hmm. His next 3 years are arbitration years.
$6 million, $14 million, $21 million.
And that's if he is playing at an MVP level, at an absolute MVP level. He's guaranteed, I think it's $50 million on this deal. And if the White Sox pick up the last 2 years of the player or the team option, then it'll be like 75, whatever the numbers are. Like, that is a financial, like, the White Sox didn't have to pay him, I think it was $2 million last year, and it'll be like $5 million and then $10 million and then $20 million, whatever. They didn't have to do that. But, like, if you're going to do that, then you fucking better be sure to compliment those players with the big dogs. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if money's going to be an issue, just keep them the standard 6 or 7 years and then use the savings on those deals to go and sign a superstar like a Carlos
100%.
Correa. So it's
100%.
like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? It is what it is.
Which applies to literally everything in life. So not just baseball. You got something going on right now. I regret to inform you it is what it is. This has been an old school All Gas No Breaks Redline Radio. Before we were an All Gas No Breaks podcast. This is just an old school Redline Radio. Me and Dave talking baseball. What'd you think, Dave?
I loved it.
Lance, what'd you think?
You guys are crazy. Yeah, you guys are just going back and forth.
I love this guy. Yeah, put it on a t-shirt.
I liked it.
Sister Jean, anything from you?
She can't even think anymore. She's got mashed potato brains.
How do we used to end this show?
I don't know.
It'd be like, you got anything else? Would you say something aggressive?
No.
Here, stay with me.
I think I've done the DJ because that was an ode to our former entry. What was his name? Entrance song?
Dennehy.
He yelled at you at the empty bottle.
I mean, you love telling it. It's a week. Yeah.
It was so fucking funny, though. He called you a turkey.
Yeah, I know. He called me a turkey.
He was like offended you didn't say hi.
And I was like, you were performing. I didn't want to bother.
Which is a perfectly reasonable
hey,
thing.
I'm going to go into your fucking green room right now and be like, yo, I run a podcast. It's about baseball. And I use your song.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, dude, get the fuck out of here. I'm about to do a concert. Or I'm trying to sell CDs. Like, I don't give a fuck. All right. I'm going back in time for a second. Jesus Christ, 271 episodes?
It's a lot of episodes. That's almost a year's.
The fuck?
80 in a year and a half. We will be at the episode a day, so you guys can go listen to our first ever episode. I was recording in Buckeye, Arizona, on the shittiest Wi-Fi ever. This one's for you. Here we go. He's pulling up the first ever episode.
Nah, the Jared one.
Sober Carl talked to obliterated Carl. Those are two different people. I've been around obliterated Carl and someone gets in his face and that doesn't usually work. Go fuck yourself. Hey, how are we doing on a strikeout count, Ozzy? 8 strikeouts through 6 innings. So we're going to leave it at that. Chris Yale, I'm just kidding. Chris Yale, good to you. Dave, any closing thoughts?
White Sox 11-2, or
2 games over at 11-9 as we speak, playing way better than I thought. And coming next week, we have a member of the 2005 team joining us.
I fucked up.
That's going to be exciting. Go to
Brian
Barstool
Anderson.
Sports tomorrow. I'll have 2 things up.
I was like,
First
wait,
is a
who
news
the
and
fuck
notes
was
recap
coming
of a
on
bunch
our
of
show
stuff
back
that
then?
I missed when I was out of town, and then we'll have something up later that does a little bit more number dive into the Red Sox preview that's more accurately laid out. In my opinion, I think the podcast today was probably a little bit more like 2 jackrabbits on ADHD or just like all over the fucking place, man.
What the fuck? And then it just ends like that. I mean, what the fuck, dude? That was just a waste of a minute. Thanks for listening to this. I think you just, whatever, just say.
All gas.
It's been good. It's been good. This has been fun. I like talking baseball.
I like talking baseball. It's my favorite thing on earth. White Sox, Conforto, Tepera, Gene Segura, backup catcher, called an offseason C at the deadline. That's like what has to happen.
Cubs, beers, outside. Who cares? Day baseball. Have some fun.
Exactly.
All gas.
No breaks, and DJ
Oh,
play
wait.
that shit.
No, you said
All gas,
no breaks.
DJ play that shit.